Hey folks, Mark Johnson, TechSnob. Just going to do a quick head-to-head. iPad Air, latest and greatest from Apple. We're going to put this head-to-head against the Microsoft Surface 2. Just starting out, hardware and design, looking at both of them. Both are very, very well built. They both have very high quality materials. Looking at the size comparison of them, the Surface 2 is definitely bigger and thicker and heavier. But at the same point, it's very nice build. It weighs in about 1.5 pounds, whereas the iPad Air is right at a pound even. Another thing about these devices is that, the dimensions of it, obviously thickness and weight is one thing, but when you're looking at the dimensions, you have a widescreen aspect ratio 16:9 on the Surface, whereas on the iPad is the 4.3, more of a square aspect ratio. And looking at movies or video, I feel are better on the Surface for the fact that you don't have to worry so much about the black bars being at the top. But it is unwieldy to hold in any direction outside of horizontal mode. So if you're not in landscape horizontal, if you try to go into portrait, it's very awkward holding it that way. Whereas with the iPad, you could definitely, either way is more than fine. So it's definitely pretty cool. You can hold it this way, hold it that way, and it's very fine like that. Very, very light, easy to hold in one hand either way. Whereas the Surface, even though it's 1.5 pounds, it is light, but it definitely is not as comfortable to hold for any amount of time with one hand. So definitely keep that in mind. Some of the other things about them, obviously the iPad you get everything is about the App Store with the iPad. It has, Apple has their apps, but they also give you now for free. You get all the Apple apps for free: GarageBand, iPhoto. There's a few more. Let's go in here and tell you all of them. You just get a whole lot of free apps. So you get Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, along with iPhoto, iMovie, and GarageBand. All those come free with your iPad, which is definitely pretty cool. And they have pretty much, outside of Android, they're pretty much neck and neck with Android with the amount of apps you can get. It's definitely second to none as far as the quality of the apps. You're definitely always going to have typically a better experience with them on an iPad iOS device. Now on the Surface, you get out of the box Word, Excel, Outlook. You can launch all these and it comes right with the Surface. So it's definitely a great thing that you can get, and that's kind of like Apple pretty much competed by throwing in their Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. So definitely if you're in the Word, if you like typing and so forth, you definitely want to take a look at the Surface. Another thing that sets the Surface apart, if you find yourself wanting to type on the keyboard, you can get a keyboard attachment and use that as well. Now, with that being said, there are several ones out for the iPad, but none of them are really, they're not made by Apple. You also get 2 dimensions of the kickstand for the Surface. And it's, the Surface is kind of like a similar laptop replacement. You definitely can type on the screen. The keyboard is great. Now I say all that, but you got to pay another $129, for the keyboard. So definitely keep that in mind for the Surface. Some other pros with the Surface. Really the main thing with it, I think, is the Office suite, and then the fact that you also can use the keyboard attachment. I think that's probably where it definitely wins in that regard. Because I definitely feel the Office suite is definitely better than the iWork suite that Apple gives you. But other than that, one thing I love about the iPad Air and so forth, you do get all that from the aspect that they give you the free iWork, Pages, and so forth, iPhoto. But you also can get these with 4G LTE connectivity, which you still can't get on an on the Surface 2 yet. So they expect to have that sometime next year. But I think if you're traveling around and so forth, it's definitely convenient, to get one of these with the 4G connectivity, and then pretty much it supports every LTE band out there. This one's on T-Mobile. You could pop in a Verizon. You can pop in AT&T, Sprint. They all use the same iPad SKU now, which is very great. So, both of these devices for different people. I definitely think the iPad starts at $499. The Surface Pro 2 starts at $449. But to be honest with you, with the Surface without getting the keyboard attachment, it kind of takes away from it. I feel, because it's definitely an integral part of the device. I mean, if you get a Surface and you have the Office Suite, trying to type, it's not the Office Suite. You can't use it really without a keyboard and mouse. I mean, it's because when you go to the desktop, you go into a blank document. I mean, you're really, trying to type on the screen with the keyboard is not going to be the greatest thing. And as you can see how the font is real small. It's not, Word is just not optimized for touch. I mean, everything's real small with the X's. I mean, it works, but at the same point, it's not optimized. It's not a touch version of it. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the Surface, because if you really want to take advantage of the Office Suite, you're going to want to get a keyboard, and that raises your price to about for another $129 or $119. And once you add that on, you're almost at the price of a 32 gig iPad. And like I said, depending on what you're going to use it for, you're going to use Office, I definitely will look at the Surface. Pretty much everything else, I highly suggest the iPad, just for the fact it's thinner, lighter. All the latest and greatest apps are there, and it's very fast. I mean, overall, it's just very fast. Big change, step up from last year's iPad Mini, and I came from an iPad 3, so much bigger performance upgrade, and it's just so thin and light. Is sliding this into a bag is definitely much easier to do. So thanks for watching, folks. Be sure to check out the site, tech-snobs.com, for more coverage. Take care.